Have you heard anything about the Psalm 83 war? I'm hearing things now about the Psalm. In Psalm 83, there's some kind of war that's supposed to happen, and it's supposed to happen before the rapture. I don't know. And to me, it's real vague, but I keep hearing people talking about it like it's some big thing that's supposed to happen next.
Okay, well, let's go there, because a lot of people talk about the Ezekiel 38 war. I mentioned that this morning. The thing about the Ezekiel, I'm guessing the Psalm, what is it, 83? Let's see what we find when we get there, because in Ezekiel, we have no confidence that that has to be fulfilled ahead of the end of the millennium, because it's talking about Gog and Magog, and that's what it says in Revelation 20. Now, in Bible prophecy, we often have partial fulfillments and final fulfillments. So it's very possible that God could do something like it, that is a partial fulfillment, and then do the final. That's possible. I just don't see a demand where this has to happen, right? Let's go to Psalm 83. I'm just going to read it. If it's not like 150 verses. Okay, all right. Let me read it, and let's see if we can discover what's here. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, Come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, and the name of Israel, that the name of Israel be no more in remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee, the tabernacles of Edom, and the Ishmaelites of Moab, and the Hagarenes, Gebal, and Ammon, and Amalek, and the Philistines, with the inhabitants of Tyre. Asher also is joined with them. They have holpen the children of Lot, Selah. Do unto them as unto the Midianites, as unto Sisera. Okay, so I see what they're saying. There are a list of nations here that are supposed to come against Israel and say, we're going to cut them off and stop them from being a nation. This is something that I would have to dive into a little bit more detail to see if this exact alliance ever did happen already in history. I think probably the argument from the people who believe it needs to happen before the rapture is that it hasn't happened. But I still would say, how do you know it has to happen before the rapture?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know.
Right. There's no. I don't think there's any good reason to think that something. Let's just assume that this isn't a past fulfillment. That this is something that's in the future that hasn't happened yet. And so, just for the sake of argument, there's nothing in the text that tells me this has to happen before the rapture, and the doctrine of imminence tells me it probably doesn't have to happen before the rapture. Now, it could happen before the rapture, but that doesn't mean it has to, right? And furthermore, it probably happens during that second seal. This is an interesting study, because the second seal of Revelation is pieces taken from the earth, right? Now, the 7 years is supposed to be a peace treaty between many and Israel, Daniel chapter 9. But apparently, there's some things that are happening there, and there's a world war that might break out because of some peace treaty. So there's some people who are confederate with Israel, and some people who are not. And I would say probably the Antichrist, who seems to be leading a federation of European nations based in Rome, will make a deal with Israel, and it could very well be that other nations come and say, no, we won't have this. And if you read Daniel 11, the Antichrist goes down into the south. This is a little bit dicey, but you can go look at my video on Daniel 11 where I spent like 3 hours going through it, so if you have some stamina. But the Antichrist wars to the north of Israel, and he wars to the south of Israel, and he sets up his like main base camp for a while in Israel, which could be a response to this kind of a thing. So it's very possible this happens after the rapture. In fact, I would say that's most likely.